Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC, presumably by a guy Lao Tzu, and is filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom and text on how we might live a more reasonable life. I can't tell you how wonderful my life is because I live it reasonably. And that is, what that means is just like it goes back to, for those of you that have listened to me before, it goes back to that experience of me with the mosaic and the guy being like, we're beyond that now. I wanted to see the Mexico England game yesterday, and I wanted to be in a place where there'd be a lot of very vocal Mexican fans. And so I rode into Chicago to go to a pub that I've been going to. And I got there an hour early, but they were full. I went to another place. They were full. I was riding down and there was this sort of soccer center, and it was just lined around the block. So I ended up coming home. I probably could have found something, but it was going to get delayed and there were all these things, and I decided to come home. It's reasonable. I did all of that. I was out for 3 hours, looking like essentially because I left with enough time to get there, and I was going to be there an hour early, and then it got delayed an hour, and then I came home right before kickoff. And so it was like I was out for 3 hours, but it didn't bother me. That's what happened. I was enjoying the ride. I was on the motorcycle, and it was cooler out, and so it was really great. Tomorrow, is it tomorrow? No, Wednesday, I'm going to get in a car and drive to Virginia to be with my sister, and I'm driving my mom and her husband and stuff, and we're going to be going out to Richmond to hang out with my sister for her birthday. And then we'll be driving back. I need to be able to keep that same mindset for that, because being in a car for 12 hours with my mom, who is not, she's a backseat driver. She can be. And just to be able to be in the same mental state of like, hey, this is where I am. We're beyond that now. Right. And then just to not have any grievance, not allow myself to be abused, but also understand that, either I'm driving or she's driving. Right. If I'm driving, well, then I don't have to. It's her car. So I do, there's going to be a certain, bit of I'm going to have to be kind, because she can dictate, slow down. Okay, I'll slow down. That's fine. Like if that is what it takes, it will slow down. And if I can do that, maybe I'll avoid any other stress, because I don't want her to stress and that build up over time and that then come down on me. At the same time, I'm pushing back against her, right? I can even see that sort of thing like escalate, where it's like I do a thing and then she wants me to stop that thing, and then I don't, or I try and get around that thing. Rules are created, and I'm gonna look at that verse today. Rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. Rule are created. I gotta add the S. Rules are created. So number 57, laws are all in the heart. So this is where I'm going to start today. Because as I was talking about this is where, and this has come up a lot this weekend. This idea, rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. All of these rules that we create really invite people to try and find loopholes. Invite people to try and find ways to get around actually having to adhere to those rules. rules are meant to be broken. It's sort of the same sort of idea. But if rules are meant to be broken, why are you making rules in the first place? And that's where this, like, laws are all in the heart. Like, if everybody trusted their heart, we wouldn't go venturing out and pushing up against and resisting being, right? Because nothing would be pushing up against us for being, right? So Tao governs all things by discarding objectives, never possessing or interfering. All things only need abide the law in their heart, and in this way they are free from desire. When Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. Rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. Intelligence is praised and rewarded while products become more demonic and intrusive. Weapons are paraded, fear spreads, and the hearts of all things close off. As litigation becomes a national focus, politicians and criminals multiply. The master needn't engage these traps. She is quiet and people follow their light. She is peaceful and people are compelled to be honest. She does nothing and all things flourish together. Have no desire and all things will achieve primal existence. I always get to the point where I'm like, this is one of my favorites. And every time I revisit this one, it's saying so much. So there's these three different sections. The one that says how Tao governs things. The one that says the one that says what people do and the pitfalls that come from that. And then what the master does. So there's these three sections, and then it ends with this single line: have no desire and all things will achieve primal existence. If we start there, if we start at the end, have no desire and all things will achieve primal existence. If we start there and say, well, what is primal existence? And why do we want that? Well, primal existence is not having a specific outcome. I've been reading this book on mitochondria, and my idea of mitochondria is that it has some sort of consciousness. It might not be the same sort of consciousness that we have in our minds, or what we experience as consciousness. But why wouldn't they? The cell, I think, that the mitochondria reside within also has a consciousness. Again, not the same as we have, maybe not even the same as mitochondria have, but it is all connected. Our consciousness, their consciousness. There's all of these connections. To achieve primal existence is to be like that mitochondria, where you do what is to be done, right? We can talk about mitochondria, we can talk about the cell, we can talk about the functions of our organs and our blood and all of these things. And they have, I would think, they have some free will to do or not do that which they are born to do. When they don't do what they are born to do, we get sick. When they do what they're born to do, when they surrender, not submit, surrender to what it is they are doing, they're in their primal existence. It doesn't mean we're healthy. We may work together with our cells and mitochondria and all of these things and achieve health, whatever that means. But nobody went into your body and taught your mitochondria what to do. Your mitochondria aren't collecting degrees. Your cells aren't going to class learning how to be cells. They simply are cells. This is primal existence, when all of these things just become what they are. Same with my my groundhog. My groundhog didn't have a class in tunneling. He just does what he needs to do. Now, that becomes a nuisance, and we try and, because I have expectations that my house isn't going to sink, right? So those expectations get in the way of the groundhog just doing what it does naturally, because I have an expectation that my house isn't going to sink. And I realize that. I realize that that's what is happening. So have no desire, and all things will achieve primal existence. Now, that idea of have no desire, that's great, and until the moment I own something, right? Then I have a desire. Like, I own this house and I want it to stand up, right? I don't want it to sink. Like, that's a desire. But if I had no desire, then the woodchuck wouldn't be a problem. And I'd just be able to let it do what it does. But because I have a desire, we can't achieve primal, now we're in an impasse. The groundhog is living primal existence. I am living from a space of desire. And I get that, and as long as I have a desire, I am going to put energy towards making sure that I can get this groundhog off my property. Right, and transported somewhere else. However that comes to pass. But that is instilled in me, right? That law is in my mind, not my heart. Right? That law is because I have a desire. And I recognize that, right? I recognize that, my desire is getting in the way of a being that is living primal existence. No, presumably, because maybe he's got a bug up his butt against me for some reason. I don't know. I mean, we can't know, right? We can't know what our neighbors are doing. Can't know what the animals are thinking. They may very well just be like, all right, I'm just gonna take this house down. I can't. I'm not gonna blame him for that. I'm living in his space. You know what I mean? He's just doing what he does. So laws are on the heart. We're going to start at the beginning again. The Tao governs all things by discarding objectives. Yeah, but I brought in an objective. My objective is to keep this house standing, right? That's an objective that I have just in this one. And we can look at this in all sorts of ways. We can look at this in terms of relationships. And I'm sure you have something in your life where you're like, oh yeah, my desire is bumping up against something and is going to change the life of something or someone else because I have a desire. Because I have a desire, something is going to be somebody else's primal existence or somebody else's desire is going to be squashed. But Tao doesn't do that, right? So Tao doesn't do that thing. We do. And there's nothing wrong, again, with us doing this, but we have to recognize Tao doesn't do that. So it's not like, and I think this is where we kind of really veer off from traditional religions when we have desires from gods, whatever gods, whether it's Zeus or, Yahweh or whatever, any of the gods that we talk about. They have an objective. They have a desire. And that's the thing. Tao doesn't have any of that. Which is oftentimes, when we start talking about good and bad and right and wrong and stuff like that doesn't exist here. This is the core of what we mean when we talk about non-dual, right? So Tao is one of the few actual non-dual texts. There isn't duality here. We have balance between the masculine and the feminine, and that kind of presents duality, but it doesn't judge that duality. So this is in the best sense of the word as non-dual, as we can be, because duality is out there. We do have balance. We do have the light and the dark, right? But we don't recognize them as either good or bad or right or wrong, or we're beyond that now. That kind of an idea. So here, it's like Tao governs all things by discarding objectives. I don't care what you do. This is why when I would go into those recovery houses and talk to people that were, dealing with addiction and other things like that, we would talk a lot about, I don't care about your addiction. It's not my job to care about your addiction. You need to care about your addiction. I don't care if you go out and use tonight. I care about you. Is that what you want to do? Then go do it. Don't, and I remember talking to them and saying, you all of you addicts, right, that I'm talking to, know that if your counselor expresses a deep hurt for you being triggered, or a deep hurt for your possibly going out and using again, you know that you have a way to manipulate them. And as soon as you know that you can manipulate someone, and as soon as you know how to manipulate them, you do it. Why wouldn't you? You want a certain thing. By wanting that thing, you start moving towards it. Just I have a desire to keep my house upright. Do you want attention? If you want attention from me, start to challenge that. Because I want that house to stay upright. If you started digging underneath my foundation, I'm going to have a problem with that. And this is the same thing that addicts will do, right? They see that their counselors are judged by their success rate, and they challenge that success rate so that they can get that attention from their counselors. And we could talk about the same thing in schools, right? Teachers are judged by grades or attendance or behavior. And a child might be able to see that they get more attention when they challenge those things that are being graded. Because if I challenge those things that are being graded, they're going to want a good grade. They're going to want to give me more attention. I can manipulate this situation. Addicts are really just simple. Simply put, addicts are like children. You find a weakness and you extract everything you can from that weakness for, survival. There's nothing wrong with that. And some people will do it everyone's going to do it in their own special way. But if you wanted to, once I have a desire, once I have a desire to keep my house upright, okay, if that's the thing, I'm just going to start digging under his foundation, right? I'm going to start to threaten this, this security so that I can get more attention. It might be good attention, it might be bad attention. It depends. The person who is getting the attention has to figure out, what do they want? Do they want good attention? Do they want bad attention? Do they care? Or do they just want attention? Sometimes children don't know the difference between good and bad attention, and so they just get the attention that they get. And it says here, when Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. And when it says when Tao is ignored, all of a sudden what we're talking about is desire. We're talking about when you live your life aligned with desire over the law in your heart. You want a thing. Objectives rule the day. Now you have an objective. Now you're going out to achieve an objective. You're going out to, get a partner. You're going out to make money. You're going out to have this experience. You're going out to change how people do the thing they do. And a lot of times, and it should be said that there is balance in all of this, because let's look at segment intending. Segment intending has an objective. you want this segment of your day to produce or result or to give you, like, or for you to approach it in a certain way or to give you a certain result. So when Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. And we could look at segment as intending and be like, well, is that an objective ruling the day? Or is that an objective looking at this moment? Right? That's an objective looking at this moment. And because it looks at this moment, that can be played in one way or another within the context of Tao. So your whole day isn't ruled by objectives. You kind of write down an objective and then you forget about it. And you go about your day being. And then you write down another objective, and then you go about your day being. You write it down so you don't have to keep checking in with it. You write it down so it's there, and it is the structure of which you are entering this moment of your day, which is filled with substance. For those of you that have following me long enough to know what I mean by substance and structure, that's the masculine and feminine and all of that. So when I write an intention for this segment of my day, it might be like, I didn't do this morning, but I could have done one for my show. No, I have a calm and relaxing show with great guests and wonderful conversations and insights. I can write that down, and yes, that is an objective. So I have both masculine and feminine. Tao has neither. Tao isn't balanced. Tao is just Tao. So it doesn't need structure, but it exists as pure substance, but not substance in relation to anything. It's just pure substance, right? So it's not feminine energy so much. It just has no structure because it is total substance. Whereas this show has structure and substance. The substance is the moments, the words, the inspiration, all of that. And the structure is, it starts at 6 a.m. It is a call-in show. It produces an outcome of recording that I, may or may not put into a podcast. And so all of these sorts of things, right? So that's all of the structures that allow this to continue, allow this to grow, and allow me to continue practicing the laws in my heart. So once again, number 57, laws in the heart. Like, Tao governs all things by discarding objective. Tao has discarded objectives. It's not telling you to discard objective. Although you want to make sure that there's a balance in all of that, which we get to later, where it's like, when Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. That's the only thing that's important, is the objective. There's nothing important about going about your business and being inspired. Nothing important about, it's all about objective. It's all about, this is the way I want the world to move. And that's the sort of slippery slope. Once you have one objective and you say, oh, well, I can control a groundhog. Well, then I'm going to control my neighbor, and I'm going to control the city, and I'm going to control, I'm going to control politics, and I'm going to control the rules, and I'm going to control everything. Why? Because I have a desire in my mind. I have a desire to keep my house from falling down, but that might turn into, I want to keep my house from losing property value. I want to keep my house from, having bad neighbors that I presume are bad or whatever. I want to do all of these things, right? That just starts an avalanche of desire. Now, if we can just touch on desire and objective and then let go, and see how Tao presents itself to us, well, then we can get out of the way of that, and we don't have to concede to the avalanche as it is. So Tao governs all things by discarding objectives, never possessing or interfering. So Tao doesn't possess or interfere in our lives. If we want to allow objectives to rule our lives, then so be it. Like, that's absolutely okay. All things only need abide the law in their heart. That's all Tao is asking you to do. Abide the law in your heart. And if your heart wants objectives, go for it. If you get lost in that journey, absolutely okay. Nothing wrong with that. Tao isn't going to get lost with you in that sense. But if you decide to just make your life about making your own profit, taking from others and being a jerk, I didn't care. That's you abiding the law in your heart. Absolutely. Go do that. And wherever that winds you up, you are still doing the work of expanding that consciousness, right? Like, your mitochondria is going to respond to the life you're subjecting it to. The cells in your body are going to do the same. Your bones are going to do the same. The things that you have energetic dominion over, right? Like the things you quote unquote own, right? Like I really love that I have this relationship with my house because it's like another being, right? I'm caring for it. I'm keeping it, I'm strengthening its foundations, making sure that it can stand on its own, making sure that it is happy in a way that I can see. And then as I do that, the house ripples that same energy out to its surroundings. So the house does it to the land does it to the neighbors' houses, the neighbors' land, the neighbors, right? And everything elevates together. Now, does that mean I don't experience, pushback? No, of course I'm going to experience pushback because I am presenting something that may get people to, feel wary. They're wary of things changing. People don't like change. And this sort of work, when we really sort of like agree that it's the laws in my heart, a lot of people can be threatened by that because they've been suppressing the laws in their heart. I mean, I go over to my neighbor's house, Carol, regularly, and she's, as she's getting older and getting more sick and more of these things, like she constantly doubles down. She's just like, I know my doctor tells me I should quit smoking, but I'm not going to quit smoking. I'm not going to quit smoking. And that's absolutely fine. I wish she would take on today I'm not quitting smoking, rather than making it this big statement. I would like to see her, because it's so painful for her. I don't care if she smokes or doesn't smoke, but it's the judgment that, one, other people are telling her what to do. Two, she quote unquote should, i.e. that's coming from outside of you. Anytime you say should, it's coming from somewhere else. It's not you, because you either want or don't want to quit smoking. But when you say I should, and then I'm not, right? It doesn't have anything to do with your want. It has to do with the should, right? I should quit smoking. Well, I'm not going to quit smoking. Okay. Do you want to quit smoking? Like, and if you were to say that without the heated sort of resistance, I would assume, and from what I've heard from her, I think like she would like to quit smoking. She would like that. She would want that. But being told it, knowing that it's hard, not wanting to, like, all of those things are present, Like the idea that, well, I don't want to go through the withdrawal. Okay, but you do want to quit smoking. Well, yeah, but I don't want to go through the withdrawal, right? Like, I understand that, but those are two different things, right? But when we talk about quitting smoking or quitting drinking or even starting the path of awareness that we're all on, right? Like even all of those things. Like we could talk about losing weight this way. Do you want to lose weight? Yes, but I don't want to not eat sugar or whatever, right? Okay. Those two totally different things. Totally different things, like, right? And we bring those things together all the time. It's like, do you want to change jobs? Yes, but I don't want to take a pay cut. And it's like two totally different things. Like, I don't know who brought up pay. I don't know who brought up withdrawal. I don't know who, like you're jumping ahead and telling me a thing you don't want to do when we're just looking at this high end of just like, well, wouldn't it be nice if you could quit smoking? Yeah, it would be nice. All right. So what's the problem? I didn't say you had to quit smoking. I didn't say quit smoking. I didn't say don't have cigarettes around. I didn't say any of that. I just said, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, it would be. All right. Now let go of the judgment and have another cigarette. It's like, but I just said I wanted to quit. Oh, yeah, but you still smoke. So what's the problem? That paradox that's in our minds every time we try and change who we are a little bit, that paradox gets in our way because we start moving ahead rather than letting our body catch up. If we say to ourselves, I'd like to quit smoking. Doesn't mean I got to do it today. It's kind of the same, like for those of you that have been listening to me for a long time, because it's been over a year and a half since I've had my last Charleston chew. But, I used to, like, I don't like that I'm doing this. Very simple, right? I don't like that I'm doing this. That's a law in my heart. The law in my heart said, I don't like that I'm doing this. I don't like that I'm eating this. I don't like that I'm subjecting myself to this. And there are a lot of reasons why, right? I would eat it and I would feel crappy, feel bloated. A couple days later, I'd be really negative. I'd be down on myself. I wouldn't be able to, think as positively as I often do. But either way, it's the world that I existed in, all of that, like I was still engaging. And then it's like, well, I would like, and it's great that I've had all of this experience, right? I got over 25 years clean and sober. Actually, it'll be 26 in December. Yeah. So I got over 25 years clean and sober, and I've had this experience. I've had this experience of, the idea of dropping the judgment of like, oh, you smoke, brr, you're a bad person, brr. Well, and I don't want to be a bad person, so I'm just going to stand my ground and say that I smoke or say that I eat Charleston chews. I don't want to be a bad person, so I'm just going to do it, and it's going to be a part of my identity. Right? And then all of a sudden my identity becomes I eat Charleston chews, or I smoke, or I do this, or I do that. My doctors tell me I should quit. I'm just going to tell them, yeah, I should, but I'm not gonna. But would you like to quit? Well, no, because it's like, well, is that no coming from all of that? And like, what is the law in your heart? I mean, every time I go over to Carol, she mentions it. So my guess is that there's a little bit of a struggle happening within her life around all of this. And that's like, we only need abide the law in our heart. That doesn't mean that we have to change, that our lives are going to change overnight. Trust me, it takes a long time. I've never worked with anyone who it didn't take at least a year or more for them to really see the work that we did together. Because I don't work with people for a year. They work on themselves for the rest of their lives. I just set them on their way. And that's the most important thing in the work that I'm doing. I'm hoping I'm setting you on your way to opening yourself up, to stop judging yourself and others around you, so that you can open up and you can allow, I mean, back to mitochondria, that's a big thing for me, is like allow this consciousness to be affected by how you're thinking and how you're acting. If you're currently struggling with, weight or addiction or smoking or something like that, and there's judgment that's attached to it, and there's this stick-to-itiveness where I'm gonna do it, like I'm just gonna continue smoking because everybody wants me to stop. Well, then that's not really, that becomes at some point disingenuous, right? Like you're not actually having like helpful conversations with anybody, because you're just standing your ground, and you're fine to stand your ground if that is right. Because it says, abide the law in your heart. If standing your ground is the law in your heart right now, great. If you have a knee-jerk reaction and, tense when somebody questions it, that might be a moment for you to like look at that tensing as you tense up, like Carol does and says, well, I'm not going to quit smoking. Okay. I never talked about you quitting smoking. I said, would it be nice if you did quit? That's like, those are like, you actually quitting is a different conversation altogether. When Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. That identity is an objective. That objective of keeping my house, secure and the foundation strong. Like those are objectives I have. It says rules are created that make people expend energy to get around them. This is what Carol's doing all the time. She's expending energy because there's a rule that is, this is like, being politically correct is a rule, and people expended energy to get around them. Not smoking is kind of a rule in society, in certain circles of society, and people expend energy to get around them. There's all sorts of little rules in place, and we expend energy to get around them, whether it's traffic rules or whether it's societal rules or whatever. There's all sorts of rules, and when they're created, rules are made to be broken. And here's a rule breaker now. Sandy, how you doing?
A rule breaker, and I love it.
Yep.
Good morning. Good morning. So I had a funny thing happen to me yesterday. So I spent the weekend at the beach with friends, and nice weekend, and I'm running around last night getting groceries in the house and everything. And I ran into somebody from my pickleball group from the winter time. I haven't seen her since the winter. I wouldn't have recognized her because out of context.
Right. Yeah.
And she looked at me and she goes, "You've been doing a lot of hard work." And I went, I guess. Right. And I guess that was a compliment because I've been having this, I call it the war on belly fat. But anyways, But it's interesting because the work hasn't been hard. I've just it daily. So, but I agreed with her. Yeah, I have been doing the hard work. And I was like, you know what? I've never felt it easier than I do right now.
Right.
Because I'm just doing it on a daily basis. I'm not overthinking it. I'm feeding my body the way my body wants. I'm not fighting it. Mm-hmm. And all is good.
Well, and that's, so I always look at weight as being, sort of like, everybody has a different body. So, like not everybody is going to look like, Shelley Duvall when she was younger. You know what I mean? And not everybody's going to look like Shelley Duvall now. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And so there's all sorts of things, but it's all like when you are uncomfortable in your body, mm-hmm. That's a symptom of something greater.
Absolutely.
It's not, just like we were talking, that's not the problem. The problem isn't the weight. The problem is the thing that makes you hold on to weight.
Right.
Because are we, and we can talk about, or are you eating to pacify, right? Are you sedentary to pacify? Are you not challenging yourself in your life to move? And all of these different things, right? And then just like this line in this 57, rules are created to make people expend energy to get around them.
Right.
Like all of these rules about health, we expend energy to get around them. Maybe we take medication. Maybe we just throw caution into it and double down on our bad behavior and other things like that. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as you say like you're supposed to look a certain way, well, you're giving yourself a tax. Someone is instilling a tax in your life that is going to remove energy that you would have had to utilize towards being still long enough to notice that, like, my body wants this healthier food in the long run. Like, yes, my body wants an ice cream sundae, but I know what that's going to do for me. And maybe it's okay here and there, now and then, but like, I can't just, I don't feel good when I'm eating that way every day. Yeah.
And, you've known a little bit about my story. So, yes, a lot of hard work has gone into myself. But that work I do every day, and it's not hard because that's what I do.
And you have, again, I know a little bit of your story. You have addressed the taxes that you pay day to day.
Right.
So you have more energy. Instead of wasting all your energy on maintaining an identity, you drop the identity and then you have extra energy to do these things that were hard before when you were being taxed so heavily. Right. They're still just as hard, but you have more energy to invest in them. You have done that, and you have streamlined your process so that it makes it easier.
Right. No, absolutely.
And all of that is coming from you being inspired through moments of stillness, through moments of you being like, oh, well, that's a waste of my energy. Let me refocus this and let me get ahead of it because I know it's going to happen again. And now your life starts becoming a more well-oiled machine.
Yeah. And I've gone from basically not being able to care for myself to feeling, that not everything is a job that I have to do.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big, first off, congratulations. And secondly, that becomes, I'm super happy that you're here, because, I love you, and I'm really glad that you're benefiting from this, relationship and from this program or whatever we want to call it. But also really just glad that I'm a part of that in one way or another.
And you are. Absolutely. Yeah. And the stories I hear from everybody else, that's why sometimes when I'll stay off the show, because I want people to come up and experience what I've experienced.
Yeah.
So I wish more people would do that because it really has benefited me in a big way.
I think I'm doing this newbie Tuesdays, so we'll see how that shows. Where I'm anybody that's new is just going to get that they're going to be bumped to the head of the line. So hopefully that gives people an opportunity to come up and be like, okay, well, I know I'm going to get picked, and so I don't have to sit around and wait, and we can have that. That might be even more nerve-wracking for some people, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a number?
I'm going to go with 9 today.
Number nine. The danger of extremes. This is interesting because we just talked about this idea that like it's not hard,
No.
and it's interesting when someone says, you've been doing hard work, and it's just like, well, for you it would be because of where you are, because it would have been for me too when I was there. But like where I'm at, this isn't hard. This is just my life. And my life has completely changed from being, like judgmental and angry and controlling and to like just like shedding this weight and doing all of this other stuff that makes my life so much more flexible. So having to prove yourself will allow challenges to best you. Focus your attention on money and lose sight of what is valuable. Keep in mind outside influence, and you will be its prisoner. Do what you do and move on. It isn't yours anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like having to prove that you're doing hard work.
No.
That was like, and maybe it was never Sandy. But my guess is that it was a little Sandy at some point, having to prove,
Sure.
no?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right. But that just allows challenges to best you, and then you're sad because you've been bested. Focus your attention on money and lose sight of what is valuable. You start looking at all your money. All these relationships that you're having get overlooked because you're just focused on money. Keep in mind outside influence, and you will be its prisoner. Here's a woman that you know from pickleball. You guys have been doing all this stuff. If she was in your mind, and you were like, well, I want to go. It's like I want to go to my high school reunion and look good and have a good job, and you're the prisoner of that because you're thinking about how they're looking at you rather than looking at yourself and saying, am I living a life that I care about?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. After my dad passed away, my brother brought pictures and he had an envelope for all of us. And mine was very thin. And he goes, Sandy, you weren't at a lot of things. And I knew I wasn't at a lot of, because I was always working, very focused on career. And there was a sadness with that.
Yeah.
That I never realized what I missed until that moment. And but right now life is good and I'm moving forward and that's what I do.
Do what you do and move on. It isn't yours anyway. It isn't yours. This life that you're living, you're going to get to experience it. But the thing is it's not yours.
No.
You're contributing to something bigger. You're contributing to the history of mankind. You're contributing to the consciousness of mankind. You're contributing to all this. This life isn't yours. You just live it. You do what you do. And what are you doing right now? You got to do the dishes. Now you got to get ready to go to work. And now you got to go in and you got to yell at some kid because they're hungover. Whatever happens, happens. You do what you do and move on. It isn't yours anyway. And when you kind of get met with a challenge, you face it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And have a great Monday, Martin John. Nice talking.
You too, dear. Always.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
So yeah, I want to just reiterate what Sandy said. If anybody wants to come up, I don't have anyone in the queue right now. So if you wanted to come up, please, you can. I'm going to go back and continue reading 57, or continue going through 57. As seeing that was, and even maybe try and see if we can bring 9 in and start weaving these two together. When Tao is ignored, objectives rule the day. When we talk about 9, that says focus your attention on money and lose sight of what is valuable. That's the objective is the money. Right, but you've already lost sight of what's valuable. What's valuable is this moment, right? You're gonna, I saw something the other day where a guy who was having an affair on his wife for 15 years or whatever gets 6 months to a year to live, and then he leaves his wife so that he can be with this other woman. It's like he's loved that woman for all of these years. And he didn't leave his wife because he was either afraid to admit it, and he was living a facade. You know, he had this identity that he had to uphold, but his happiness, he was just lying to everybody. And even if we want to say, well, I don't want my partner to leave me, would we be happy knowing that our partner is only with us out of pity or out of fear? Like, that would gut us, right? Because not only are they, lying to us and not in one way, or not being honest to themselves, at least, we get into this space of being like, well, I'm complacent with this situation because it's not challenging me, right? It's not in my, so like I settled for somebody that doesn't necessarily love me, and that's hard. Right? That's not easy to be able to look back at. And I would much rather know that my love is reciprocated in a way that I know that, in a way that I understand it to be reciprocated, rather than being fooled into thinking that I'm loved when I'm not, or I'm loved in a way that I'm not. And again, rules are created to make people expend energy to get around them. That man was expending energy to get around the rule of his marriage for 15 years. And then when he got the diagnosis of having 6 months to a year to live, that's when he decided to live. That's when he decided to drop the charade. It's sad to think that we can't be honest with the people that love us and with the people that we love. Because we're wrong, right? We can say, I married you and I was wrong. I didn't know. Or I married you and I want to actually honor that and try to make this work. And that doesn't necessarily mean turning away this other love. It just means, being honest about it. I mean, maybe you can love more than one person. I mean, I'm not, polyamory does exist, and I do believe that, we need more than one person in our life, not necessarily, at the same time. I mean, maybe at the same time, but it's like, people are here to inspire us. People are here to help us grow into the people that we are. It's like, it's great when we can be upfront and we can, the rule was created that you're like, and was the rule created from a good place? Was the rule created, for this situation, or is it just to protect? Hey, Julie, how you doing?
I'm all right. I've got today.
What do you have today? You broke up.
Oh, sorry. I was sitting in by the sea yesterday.
Ah, okay.
And a gentleman walked past, and he was really happy and chatty, and he was telling us.
You just throw him in the sea?
No.
Shut up.
No, he was telling us where he was going to go and what he was going to do next. And he was telling us that all the magic around Tintagel and King Arthur and everything was true. And off he went on his travels towards the coast, bumping into another couple where he had another conversation and carried on to the coast. Not long after, about 15 minutes later, he drove past in a beautiful red car. And he opened the window because the conversation was with Brad. I was sitting in the van. And I thought, I'll stay in the van while Brad's having that conversation because you know what I'm like. I start butting in and ruining the thing, right? So I thought, no, I'll wait.
That seems like a conversation really kind of geared toward Brad anyway.
Yes. Anyway, so he drives past in this lovely, shiny red car. And this is what he says to me. See you in the future. It's amazing. And he
That's so
disappeared.
beautiful.
He disappeared. I didn't see his car go beyond my van. I didn't see where he went. He arrived, said what he said, had a chat with Brad, walked away, chatted to him for a couple, drove back in his shiny red car and said, see you in the future. It's amazing. And then disappeared. Both me and Brad said, did you see that car go around the bend there? I went, no. How lovely. How lovely. So
It
I
isn't
thought I'd
yours
share that
anyway.
with you.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'm going for number 13.
13. Lucky number 13.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And congratulations on the win yesterday.
Yeah, it's great. What a game.
Oh man. Those Mexicans.
Yeah.
I was cheering for the Mexicans because I
It's close to home, isn't it? And you always like to be on the opposite side sometimes.
I am a contrarian. So
Yes.
yeah.
I'll
And
forgive you
I have
for
all
that,
my
Martin John.
I have all my
I'm going to spit when Spain play.
Yeah, that's going to be in a couple hours. So
Yeah, I know. Oh, don't worry, we'll boo them on.
yeah. Portugal, they got to be stopped anyway. So
Well,
we'll see
this
we
is
can
what
do.
I'm thinking. Maybe, it might be a good thing for us if Spain win this game. Because Portugal, yeah, they're showing some great stuff at the moment, aren't they?
I disagree. I don't think they are showing very, very good stuff, but we'll see. We'll see.
He's such a contrarian today.
What's
I like this. I like this, Martin John. It's great that we don't agree. I'm enjoying this not agreeing with Martin John.
Yeah, it's good.
This is bringing out the spice in our relationship.
It's good.
Okay, number 13, please.
13, finding equality at the extremes. Here we are, disagreeing and everything.
Oh, yeah, I don't agree with that.
To succeed and to fail, or to agree and disagree, are equally undesirable. Creation and destruction are equally present within us. What do I mean by to succeed and to fail are equally undesirable? The more success you have, the more you protect it by hiding failure. Mm-hmm. The more you associate with failure, the more you embody it. When neither success nor failure is identified as the destination, being becomes the objective. What do I mean by creation and destruction are equally present within us? Well, to have a body and mind with which I identify gets me involved in the manifestation. The manifestation convinces me of my actions, and so naming them, I both create and destroy, neither of which are unique. To see yourself with indifference, you will have faith in all things. To see the world with indifference, you will be able to care for it all.
I like that. I like the to create, you destroy, because that's absolutely true. That's a conversation me and Brad had 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And he was trying to describe to me what that was. And he's quite good at putting me in the picture, which is nice. So I can play with that in my own time. I like to agree and disagree, because as we've just had a conversation about what we agree and disagree, even though we're agreeing and disagreeing, there's that subtlety in there. There's a subtlety of Martin John's soul, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
The being that is Martin John. I enjoy that being. So disagreeing doesn't matter. Agreeing doesn't matter. It's the time that I'm spending with you and having that exchange of humanness between us. That's what's great. I see that because I'm not fixated on agreeing or disagreeing or success or failure.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
When I get caught up in agreeing and disagreeing, because what does it matter? You believe this thing, I believe this other thing, or
Portugal.
I think this other
Get rid of
thing.
him.
Portugal. Yeah. Off you go. And so like by on one hand, like I could, once I care that you were to agree or disagree with me, I have to ask, why? Why would I care if Julie thought the same thing I did? Now, maybe it's because I don't want to be wrong. And I trust Julie's right more than I trust myself. So I'm going to agree with Julie simply because I don't want to be wrong. Not because I think Julie's right, because I'm afraid of being wrong. Now all of a sudden I will agree. And whether we agree or disagree, ultimately my experience of this is that I think this. Your experience of this is you think that. And we have come together. And if I was a people pleaser, and I have been in the past, if I was a people pleaser, I would want to please you by maybe agreeing with you or disagreeing with you in a way that you can be right anyway. And why would me disagreeing with you make you wrong? It would never make you wrong. You're having an experience in your life. You're having an experience that you have come to, and you think you have some ridiculous idea that Portugal is doing well. Now, I don't know. I don't know where you got that.
That's so funny.
I don't know where you got that garbage, but that's for you to problem. That's your problem, right? So
I'm pinning it all on one man. Remember, I'm pinning it all on one player. So Portugal is doing well would really need narrowing down to, you've got one Portugal player that's doing really well.
But that's the, that's
but you might
the
not
whole
agree
thing.
with that.
But that's the thing, like to succeed and fail are equally undesirable because it's your experience anyway.
Yeah.
Like the idea that it would be success. What's that?
I don't even know what you're on about. They're doing great. Look at them.
The idea that success and failure happen within your life is ridiculous because success and failure happen within a group. Because if you were alone, and you trapped food or you didn't trap food, the problem isn't that you succeeded or failed. The problem is eating.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, all right, well, I didn't trap food, but I have this dandelion in front of me, right? Like, and I can eat, right? Whatever that becomes, like you solve the problem. And if one of your solutions doesn't work, you move on to the next solution rather than sitting around going, brr, I failed. Now I'm not going to eat. Yeah, right. You're not going to eat. So now you have a different problem, right? Like now figure that out in some other way. And this is why when it's like, well, to see yourself with indifference, like this is what has to be done. I'm going to go out and do it. I'm not going to sit here and wallow in my own self-pity. I'm not going to sit here and waste time telling myself that, Portugal's good when they're obviously not, you're going to have that opinion and you can go down that road all you want. I'm going to be here, shouting for Spain. So all of that is just, like you have your experience. I have my experience, and that we're not going to ever understand why you think that or why I think that.
I love this. This is such fun.
But what's going to ultimately
made the game interesting. I'm going to have to watch it now.
Well, what ultimately happens then is that we see ourselves like you don't have to agree with me. You have your thoughts.
Yeah.
But I have faith. I will, by being indifferent to my, how right I am. And that's the thing. Like, as soon as I say I'm right, I'm not indifferent. Right?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the success and failure, right? Like, it's like, I'm right, you're wrong. And if Spain win, then I'm right. If Portugal win, then you're right. Or FIFA cheated like he did with the US. FIFA cheated like they did with, Ghana. FIFA cheated like they did with everybody else, right? And then I'll have a platform to be aggrieved. Right? If I'm wrong, then I don't have to admit I'm wrong. Right? And then that's where it's like, to see yourself in the difference, you'll have faith in all things. I'll
And
have
what a
faith in the
story. What a story. What a load of stuff to put your energy to.
right. And it's
Oh,
fun.
wow.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's fun
Yeah.
to be here and take sides and to think about success and failure and creation and
But
destruction
that's
and create
playing
all
with
of
it,
this.
isn't it? It's playing with it rather than kind of, really pinning everything that you've got on being right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just playing with the idea, and playing with the idea of it is where the fun is, really. Nobody has to
when
be
you
right, nobody has
have
to be
that.
wrong. But
Right,
yeah.
when you have that wherewithal to be like, wait, this isn't about that. I don't have an objective, right? I don't have an objective for the Spanish team. I don't have an objective for this conversation. I don't have an objective. I mean, I turn to an objective to have fun with this conversation and like little things like that. And so I can, and you can see it. Like I would be able to do that without any awareness. I could have been speaking to you without any awareness to how silly what I was saying was. Right?
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
It's
fun.
and people could do that. And when they do, they're so invested in themselves and their own ideas that they start putting people down and they start standing up for themselves when they don't need to, because you're just having a different experience and there's nothing, and then to see the world with indifference, you can care for it all. So then everybody is then seen with indifference, and it's just like, oh, like Julie can believe this load of crap. Like, I don't have to, right? And I can, again, like I can respect, because like I believe in this load of crap.
Load of crap. It's fine. She's enjoying her crap. Come
right.
on.
As am I, right? Like I'm sitting here right now with my Spain jersey on, ready for my game, right? Yeah. I'm living in a load of crap just as much as you are.
I will expect a text, though, to tell me how right you were at the end.
Because Spain are going to win.
Do I, though?
You just said it. I won't be texting you if they lose. No, I'm kidding.
Come
because
on,
I'm not indifferent. I'm not indifferent, obviously. But no, it's and this is the whole back and forth, right? You like I have fun with my, like, and I've said this before. If I never watch another Hull game, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
But that's not. I'm not going to subject myself to that because we're in the Prem.
Yay. Do you know, I have such fun with you. You always make it fun. No wonder I keep coming up here and having a chat with you, because every time there's another aspect of this long-standing conversations we've had over 5 years. And every time you sparkle another little bit of joy in my direction. It's great. I love it. Thank you so much. What do you think about the magic man?
What do you mean?
The man that came along and then disappeared. What do you think of that?
I don't know who you're talking about.
The guy I talked about at the very beginning.
Oh, that guy. What do I think about it? I don't know. I didn't meet him. That's your business.
Lovely. Take care. You're so good.
I love you.
Take care. Much love. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, what do I think about the man? I don't know that he even existed. I don't even know that you exist. Might just be all in my imagination. We're not gonna take that road. He did. Hey, Jackie, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Life is easy out here talking about the Dow.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
Tend to do.
That I don't even know if you're here. I say that a lot. Not that part, but I could be making all this up.
Yeah, I've hallucinated before. Wouldn't be the first time.
Well, that's so funny because I was talking to my cousin, and we were talking about Puerto Rico, and I was like, I've been there when I was a young kid, but I swear it snowed when I went. Now, the likelihood of that happening is nil. I was like, but I remember it so distinctly. But, I said, maybe it's in my head, maybe it snowed. I said, probably not. But, it's just so interesting how our mind, in my head, as a little girl, I saw it snow in Puerto Rico. Now, that might not have ever happened. And it's likely it did not. But to embrace that anyway, that we embrace it anyway. And that's the cool part, you know? Maybe the guy was magic, maybe, you know, they were hallucinating, maybe, you know, who knows? But it's fun. It's fun to just be there with it. So that's all.
Yeah. I don't know about. I don't think it's ever snowed in Puerto Rico. I don't know if it has or not. Have you?
I don't
Have you?
think so. I
Have
don't
you?
think so, but I don't know.
I mean,
You
maybe.
know?
I mean, there was. So I've mentioned this show a number of times. Third Rock from the Sun.
Hmm.
I thought it was a really smart show, and these two characters were interacting about like the 60s and like sort of reminiscing about like being on college campuses in the 60s, and then one of the characters, man, it's changed so much. And then Dick, the head alien guy, he says, yeah, the Earth used to be covered in ice. Like this idea that like like one person was talking about like mankind and all of this stuff, and then he just was like, things changed so much, and he looks at it from this different time scale, right? And to be able to look at it from this different time scale and to be like, yeah, your little 50 years, like nothing's really changed. Like people are still people. People are running around still wanting the things that they want and stuff. But the real change happened when, Puerto Rico had snow on the ground.
Surprise. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was or what but I remember the trip really distinctly because it was the first time I saw water that you could see through at a beach. I
Oh,
mean, I was coming from Jones Beach and, you know, City Island Beach and all those things. And those were not, you might be swimming next to a diaper over there. So, it was a totally different experience for me. And I was like, wow, I remember just
yeah.
being dumbfounded. Um,
No, so
and maybe,
crystal clear.
yeah, it was something I hadn't experienced before.
Yeah.
And so it was just in that moment, it was like, wow. And in my head, apparently I made it snow too.
Yeah.
You know, but that's an experience that I took away from it. Maybe it was just who knows, but it was funny when I talked to my cousin. I tell him, I'm like, I have all these experiences and I have some wild ones, and I said, I have no knowing of if they're real or not, but this is just my life, and learning to embrace them has been great. I've really enjoyed it, and not to put too much emphasis on the fact that in my mind, my experience has snowed in Puerto Rico, and not to put too much emphasis on it didn't, because I don't know,
Right. Yeah. And, like either way, I mean, it doesn't,
Who cares?
right. It doesn't matter until you want to, and maybe even not then. Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking, until you want to write a book and tell everybody that it snowed in 1974 or whatever in Puerto Rico, and this because you were a child and you were there, and maybe that's fine too, because there's nothing. It's interesting how much information is out there that is just being created right now. It's funny. I started reading this book. I know I don't do this often. I went to a Barnes and Noble, and I was just kind of hanging out one afternoon, and I just kind of it was this was last week, and I don't know why I was doing it. I just did it, and it was just an idea I had. I'll just go and kind of hang out, and while I was there, I didn't go in with the idea of buying a book. I hate books. I don't want to, but it was like this is a good idea for whatever reason. And I was like, oh, this person came up to me and asked me if I needed any help. And I was like, no, because I'm not here for anything. And then they came up to me like another time, like 20 minutes later. They were like, you still doing okay? And I was just like, yeah, I'm fine. And then I was just like thinking about like, well, what would I read? Like, because I was kind of looking at some mushroom books and some, like nature books and some other things like that. I was just kind of flipping through them. And nothing I would buy, because I'm just doing this stuff in my backyard. And it's a lot easier for me to get something to just look up the specific things that my backyard needs. No one wrote a book about my backyard, They wrote a book about fungus, but I only have 3 to 5 funguses, like 3 to 5 mushrooms on my property. I just need to know those. I don't need to know about, things that aren't growing here. So I'm not going to get a book about it because, why? But then I started thinking, oh, you know what? Like mitochondria. So I ended up getting this book on mitochondria. So I ended up going up to that person who asked me about it. I was like, hey, can you, is there a section for mitochondria? and so we found 2 books, one of which they had. And so I just got it. And then as I was leaving, I'm like, what am I doing? I hate reading. I just gave myself a task. And I'm going to tell this whole story, but and then I went right back in to return the book because I was like, there's no way I'm going to read this book, but I didn't take the receipt. So I didn't take the receipt, but they were like, we put it on your card right now. Yeah, I tapped my card. Oh, still not in the system. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to take the book. And so I just took the book home. And then I was home and I was literally like a little frustrated because I'm like, I started reading it and the book starts. And I'm just gonna open it up to the first page really quick, and see if I can. And this irritated the heck out of me because it starts up. The other day we saw a dead bird on our porch lying on its back. I'm like, what does that have to do with mitochondria? What are you trying to do to me? Like if I wanted to read a story, I wouldn't have got a book on mitochondria. Right? I don't want your story. I was so irritated. The first line I read, I was just like, are you kidding me? Because I skimmed the intro and was like, yeah, okay, I'll buy this book. Like this is new for me. And then I was like irritated and then I was angry and then I was like, But then I did, I don't know if it's a smart thing or a stupid thing, because I started trying to read it, and then that whole story, and then there was another story of them like, doing a pilgrimage in Japan that made me roll my eyes. Like I strained my retinas rolling my eyes so deep. And then I decided that I'd get the audiobook and then just follow along. And that made everything so much easier. So now I'm just following along while I'm listening to the audiobook. Cost me an extra, like whatever, subscription to Audible, but whatever. Because I just canceled my subscription to Audible like last month. And I was like, now I'm going to go back. But that's all inspired. I don't know why that all happened, but I eventually surrendered. And I was like, all right, I'll read this book in the way that I can read it. And I don't know why I'm talking about all this, but that's what happened to me this weekend.
Oh, I love it. It's, that's the thing. Like you're talking to even Sandy and Julie and, it's holding those 2 paradoxes. I don't like to read, but I'm going to buy a book or, whatever.
I don't like to read. I'm going to Barnes and Noble. Like the heck? What are you doing?
But you get back to, we learn. That's how we learn. We learn through, if you're gonna say you're bad, you have to know what good is like. If you're gonna say that all those things, if I'm loud, I have to. I always laugh because whatever's out there, whatever is running the show here, it's comical because it's all this stuff of, you have to experience those identities and be open to it to be able to come back and let go of them. And it's just so ironic to me, the way that for me, I feel best is not to hold either identity, and just to be open to the experience. So I don't like to read, but so it's just all these ironies of living. But to hold both paradoxes is so hard. And I think paradoxy, I don't know, but to hold both of them is really challenging, because
Yeah.
it's just, and it's not what we're taught. But we are really called to hold both, know that we are both. So then, in essence, we're nothing. Neither, I would say.
Yeah,
And
and at
that's
the moment we can admit that we are neither, we become all of it. We're able
that's it.
to then be all of it. We don't have to. We're no longer we're no longer confined to one or the other.
Yeah, and that's it. Like you still don't like to read in the book, and it's just so funny because like it's so cool that you're open to that experience, just as I had to be open to, well, I didn't have to be, but to be able to, with a straight face, be able to look at somebody and say, or, on the phone, whatever, to say to somebody, I experienced it snowing in Puerto Rico. It sounds
Right,
absurd, but
right.
it's what I experienced. And it took me a really long time to be able to, love that part of myself, the irrational thing. But I have always had those kinds of experiences, whether I wanted to be open to what they had for me, and that took a while. But it's nice to be open to it. How cool, you get to experience Barnes and Nobles.
You have a number.
I do not, and I don't see any numbers around me, so I'll ask you.
All right. Number 70. These teachings. These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. Apropos, I guess.
Oh,
These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things.
maybe it's always perfect. Those verses you pick, the
Mm-hmm.
magic number generator.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I do, maybe I'm just going to read this again. I don't know. These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. It's like that identity is intellect. It's like, you don't like to read. Why would you go there? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't match with where I'm going, because I'm here. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. They prefer to hold on to the identity of what they think they are. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written in here, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Themselves, the being that is bigger than the identity, to who you really are. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things. It's like those people that say, if you don't stand for something, you stand for anything, like, or whatever, things like that. It's like, it doesn't really work that way. I know it sounds good, and when you think about it, you'll fall for anything. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It's like, I know it sounds good, and you can point at me and say I don't stand for something because you can't identify it, right? But actually, I'm standing for quite a bit. I'm standing for life and consciousness, and I'm standing for choice, and I'm standing for, living reasonably, where I don't know. You dropped off. If you had anything final you wanted to say, you can come back up. Otherwise, I'm going to start to sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And we went over quite a few numbers today, 9, 13, 70, and I really kind of focused on 57. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you're new, if you listened to me for quite some time but never have come up to speak, tomorrow you will take preference. That doesn't mean that my regular people can't come up. JK, Sandy, Julie, Marianne, all of Johnny and all of the people that come up regularly. I want you guys to come up. The only caveat is if a new person that hasn't come up, or a person that I believe hasn't been up, they will take preference. Now they will take precedent, which means they will come up. So if there is a queue, and today I didn't have a queue at all. I think JK was sitting behind Julie for a little bit, but other than that, I didn't really have a queue, but sometimes I do. And if anyone in that queue is new, they will be the next to come up. If there are 2 new people in the queue, I will take them first come, first serve, and life is easy. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you benefit from the work that I do here, please consider checking out the links in my profile, and you can support me and this show through Venmo or buy me a coffee. And if you want, you can pick up a copy of my Tao Te Ching through that website as well, through those links. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.